Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. My name is Troy, I'm 29 years old, and my goal is to retire early off of dividends using this portfolio you're going to see today. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing everything that you'd want to know about this portfolio, including the positions I have, how much it's worth, what it pays me, and the like. I am going to try to do this video completely unscripted. All I have on my screen is a bunch of pictures that I'm just going to talk about with you guys, so hopefully you enjoy the new style.
Well, here goes nothing.
One of my favorite parts about doing these videos is that I get to be transparent with you guys and share how much I made for the month and or the quarter, and I would love for you guys to do the same. Make sure you guys leave your March and quarter one results down in the comments below so I can cheer you on. And if you're interested in all things dividends, make sure you guys consider subscribing and ringing the bell, as that's all I cover here on the channel. Without further delay, let's go ahead and find out what this taxable account that I'm going to use to retire early is really worth. So looking here, one of the things I really like to do is compare not only my current account balance, but track it over time to see how it's growing. You guys can see right here that in January of 2024, the start of this year, I had an account balance of $67,196.27. That bumped up to $69,405.51 at the end of last month. And at the conclusion of March, I have an account balance of $71,420.29. Of that $71,000 account balance I just mentioned, $17,000 of that is sitting in SPAXX as the wife and I's emergency fund. The reason behind that is my bank was giving me disgusting interest rates, and not in a good way, so I wanted to capitalize on the current 4.97% interest rates from SPAXX. So $17,000 of the cash sitting in the account I don't touch, but anything over that I do invest. Now, as to what I invest that in, well, right here you can see all the positions in this account. I currently have 11 positions in this account, but only 9 are active and 2 are what I'm calling dormant. And the dormant positions are Starbucks and ExxonMobil. Now, the reason those are dormant is because when I look at my criteria, which is outperformance of the market, a dividend streak of at least 5 years, and a 3, 5, and 10 year dividend growth rate above 10%, the most important one to me is outperformance in the market. And when I looked at all of my stocks, these 2 stocks did not meet that requirement, and that's the one that's a deal breaker for me. Now, I don't want to sell these positions because I still like these companies, but I did want to put them on hold. I'm going to allow the drip, but I'm not going to add any money for the foreseeable future into these stocks until I re-review. Speaking of added money, I did add $833.34, which is the standard amount that the wife and I add every month, and that's going to be added to the remaining cash I had in this account and the interest earned in this account to give me an investable amount for the month of April of $917.06. Now I want to brag and boast a little bit, and I want to show you the best 3 performers in this portfolio. First up, we have Microsoft, that's up 38% even, which is $1,899.39. Next up is my newest position, which is Costco, that's up 37.65%, or $1,463.24. And rounding out the top 3, we have ExxonMobil, that's up 37.42%, or $1,304.59. Now, of course, I'm not a genius, so I do have some losers in here, and I want to share those with you as well. So looking at the same chart just flipped over, we have my biggest loser being APD, that's down 13.87%, or $525.89. Next Air Energy comes in at number 2, being down 11.51%, or $427.35. And Starbucks comes in at number 3, being down 6.05%, or $261.86. Now, I do want to draw attention down here to the bottom of this, so you can see that this account is up 15.66%, or $7,243.68 in capital appreciation. Now, the next thing I wanted to share is my portfolio's performance compared to the broader markets. Now, one thing that really bothers me is underperforming the market, which is why I pick stocks that only outperform, but it is hard to outperform the S&P 500 on a consistent basis, so I try to just do it over the long haul. With that being said, I want to share this chart with you guys where you guys can see my time-weighted and money-weighted returns. You guys can see that my time-weighted and money-weighted 1-month return for the month of March is 1.55%, while my time-weighted year-to-date return is 4%, and my money-weighted year-to-date return is 4.02%. Now, at the time I was doing this review and doing all my research, for whatever reason, Fidelity didn't have the market indexes updated, which is very annoying, but I went ahead and did the research anyway. So the 1-month return on the S&P 500 is currently 3.79%, the NASDAQ was 2.77%, and the Dow Jones was 2.66%, with year-to-date returns for the S&P 500 being 10.16%, the NASDAQ being 9.11%, and the Dow Jones being 5.62%. So I'm currently trailing all 3 indexes, but there's still plenty of time left in the year to see if I can catch them. Next thing I wanted to show you is what I spent my money on in this account in March and how much it added in added forward income. Looking at this chart, you guys will be able to see all kinds of different information. So on the far left, you'll be able to see what the tickers were. Looking at the second column, it'll say sum of quantity, and that's how much of that ticker I bought. Sum of amount is quite literally how much I spent on that ticker, and the average of price is the average price I purchased that company for. So you guys will be able to see the company I bought the most of in terms of shares is NextEra Energy because it's one of the cheaper stocks I own in my portfolio, and I bought 1.723 shares of that. The most money I spent on an individual holding was Pool Corp, where I spent $253.83. And then it's pretty pointless to look at the average price because that varies by individual stock. But if you guys look all the way over to the right side, you guys can see that the most money I added was also with NextEra Energy, where I added $3.55 in added forward income. Down here at the very bottom of this pivot table, you'll be able to see all my total numbers. So you can see that I added a total of 5.154 total shares. I spent $968.78, which was over the span of 19 trading days, and I added $18.17 in added forward income. Next up, I always like to share the current yield and the yield on cost for my portfolio because some of you out there really care about that stuff. Quickly looking right here, you guys can see that my current dividend yield of my portfolio, if I were to buy this same portfolio today, would be 1.91%, while my yield on cost for this portfolio is actually sitting at 2.09%, so we're up pretty good over there. And I also like to share my cost basis. Because of my strategy of dollar cost averaging every day, I like to see the fluctuations of my cost basis over the month to see which ones I'm getting cheaper and the ones I'm spending more money on. Right here, you'll be able to see all the cost basis, the previous cost basis, and the cost basis as of the end of this month. You guys can see that I have two stocks that are actually in the green, which means they got cheaper for me. My cost basis went down, which is always a good thing, and that's with APD and NextEra Energy. While it looks like my biggest increase in cost basis once again goes to Costco, where it used to be $528.44 per share. Now it's $532.21 per share, which does stink, but it's over $700 per share, so I'm okay with a little increase. Next up, I wanted to share one of the favorite charts from any dividend investor, the projected annual dividend income. Look in here, you'll be able to see my January, February, and March projections all in one chart. So in January, I had a yearly projection of $918.73, which bumped up to $948.54 for the year as of February. And as of the end of March, that projection is now sitting at $966.71. Now, what this isn't doing is counting any interest payments that I'm going to receive in this account from that emergency fund being in here. And it's also not saying, hey, for the rest of 2024, as of March, you're going to make $966. What it's doing is it's telling you that, hey, if you have no more money added to this account, there's no dividend raises, anything like that, for the next coming 12 months, you're projected to make this much money. That's really what the projected annual dividend is about. Next up, I wanted to get into the meat and potatoes and show you who paid me in March and how much I made overall. So in total for March, I received 5 dividend payments and 1 interest payment. On March 1st, I received $8.43 from Visa. And looking here at this chart, this is one of my favorite charts I just started sharing. You guys can see every dividend payment I've ever received from Visa, going all the way back to March of 2021, which is 3 years ago, when I received a big, outstanding 9 cents. That's all the way up to this year where I made that $8.43, last March where I made $4.30, so you can really use this chart to see the growth of Visa's dividend over time. Next up was ExxonMobil on March 11th, where I received $38.81, and same thing here with this chart. You can see the very first dividend I received from ExxonMobil on March 10th of 2021, and then it's growing ever since then all the way to March 11th of 2024, where I received that $38.81. Next up on March 14th was $12.02 from Microsoft. Again, same chart here. You can see $2.54 was my first payment 2 years ago, and it's grown ever since then, all the way up to the $12 we're at today. Following that, the next day was NextEra Energy paying me $25.42. Same chart here. You can see the progression of that money. Then my last dividend payment of the month was on March 28th, where I received $13.97 from Pool Corp, which is up from the 93 cents from my original payment from them, and the $11.54 the last time I received dividends from Pool Corp. And rounding out the month, I had SPAXX, which is that interest on the cash sitting in the account that I was telling you guys about earlier. And this month, I'm back over the $70 mark at $73.80, which you can see so far in 2024. This has been really great to add some extra cash to my portfolio so I can invest it and keep it growing. Now we're going to go from one of my favorite visuals to one of my favorite charts I like to share here with you guys. Personally, I don't see too many people tracking this stuff, and I think this is very, very motivating because dividend investing is such a long game. This is what I call my snowball chart, and on this chart, what it does a really good job of showing is the amount of time it takes you to reach each of the milestones I have selected. Currently, you can see that I have the milestones selected in $100 increments, and in that column where it says number of days between, that's the number of days it took me to go from the one milestone to the next. So example is on May 30th of 2020 here at the very top, all the way to June 28th of 2021, it took me 300 294 days to make my first $100 in the account. You can follow this all the way down, and one thing you're going to notice is that this is getting progressively shorter as time passes. And the newest update to this chart is down here at the bottom. So you guys can see that on February 29th of 2024 to March 14th of 2024, so 14 days, that's how long it took me to go from $1,800 to $1,900. And same thing here at the end. From March 14th of 2024 to March 28th of 2024, it took me another 14 days to go from $1,900 to $2,000 in career earnings in this account. Like I said many times before, this is a super easy chart to put together, and I really think more people need to track this because it's a great source of motivation to keep you going on your dividend journey. And the last chart I want to show you guys here is the one I use to track year-over-year growth when comparing this month to the same month last year and quarter-over-quarter and year-over-year. Looking here at this chart, you guys can see a bunch of information. You guys can see that I started my dividend investing journey in 2020, but I actually didn't receive my first March dividend until 2021 when I made $13.45. That rolls over to March of 2022, where that bumped up to $24.38, which represented an 81.3% year-over-year increase. Then we bumped to March of last year, March of 2023, where I made $54.34, which was a 122.9% increase, which is already crazy. But then it gets even crazier when we bump to March of 2024, where I made $172.45, which represents a 217.4% year-over-year increase. Since it's the end of March, that means it's also the end of quarter one, so I also wanted to draw attention to the quarter one results. You can see that in quarter one of 2021, I brought in $22.88. Quarter two of 2022, that bumped to $54.04, which is a 149.3% increase. Then quarter one of 2023 bumped to $124.95, or a 119.1% year-over-year increase. And in quarter one of 2024, I'm already up to $547.85, which is a 338.5% year-over-year increase. Which then we round all that information up and look down here at the bottom to see that again, we have that $547.85 total so far in 2024 through the first 3 months, which the cool thing about that is if you look back to 2020, 2021, and 2022 and add all those numbers up, I've already passed my first 3 full years in dividend investing just in quarter one of 2024. So that's very, very exciting to hear. And before we close out this video, I do want to know, is there any information that you guys like tracking in your own portfolios that I didn't mention today that you'd like me to share with mine? Let me know that down in the comments. And speaking of the comments, don't forget to let me know what you guys made in March and what you guys made in quarter one. I'd love to cheer you guys on as you guys progress through your dividend journey. And if you guys are brand new to dividend investing and you guys just found this video on accident and you want to know how to do dividends right, make sure you guys check out this video. But until next time, see ya.